All right, here we go. Closing out the week. It's been an interesting week. I don't know about Dave's week, but it's been an interesting week. So Dave Koken's here. We'll be joined in a little bit, maybe, by another guest.
Is kind of missing a rudder.
Yeah, that's not bad from Brady. He says my hat is that Petro. Petro's getting a little gray. Is that Petro on my hat? No, it's Dave with hair. How about that? If Dave had bushy white hair, he's already got the white beard.
Yeah, if I had any hair left, that would be white as well.
Uh, Brady also says of South Dakota State, recruiting to Brookings, South Dakota can't be easy. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know in very casual conversation, like TJ Otzelberger, if I, last year when I was going on the road trips as a sideline reporter on radio, it's not like he and I are busting out into 5-minute conversations. He's pretty much like, basketball. That's it. But I did have a chance to ask him off the air about Brookings, and he didn't want to kill it because they help make him who he is. But he was like, yeah, it's a little bit slow. It's a little bit slow. So I guess Brady, you're saying it's not the most impressive city going, Brookings. It's not the best.
I don't think they have a Ruth. I don't think there's a Ruth's Chris in Brookings, South Dakota, as far as I know.
Never know. I mean, college basketball really is the home of some godforsaken, buried places that time forgot. But there are some programs where that works. Dave, there are some kids who actually need to go to places like that. Otherwise, they just can't keep it together. They got to be in the middle of nowhere.
Well, and to me, it's the Larry Bird thing. Larry Bird might never have been Larry Bird if he stayed in Indiana. He needed to get back to his element, which was Terre Haute, Indiana State, and the rest is history. Some guys flourish in smaller environments. That's just where they're from, and that's what they're used to.
There's no way this is true. That town's like a big strip club town. Seriously?
Wow. I had no idea. Well, Adam ought to know because he's, Adam's an authority on things like that.
Yeah, I don't know what Adam does on the road, so I know what he said. It's a total joke. I know.
I assumed that.
I know in my younger days that I could definitely find some places around the country. So there were some pretty interesting places up and down the East Coast. I always tell it's funny, Dave. I always tell the story of strip clubs in Massachusetts. I have no idea what the rules are now, but in New Jersey, they're awful for the patron. They suck. It's basically like a bikini bar. If they have liquor, they're either wearing lingerie or bikinis. Nothing's coming off, right? Nothing. I mean, zero. I can't even remember if they had. They probably do. I'm sure. I was young when I was there. Obviously, I'm sure they have some VIP rooms where things get done. But I went to Massachusetts, and I was like, wow, okay, this is the way it could be. Because Massachusetts, I don't know. Do you remember this? Do you remember strip clubs in Massachusetts? What's it like in New England?
I have no experience with strip clubs in Massachusetts. Rhode Island was okay. The best strip clubs I've ever been to, ever, were in Montreal, and this is going back to the 70s. And it was.
I heard that. Oh
my God, it was incredible.
Why was it good?
The girls were gorgeous.
Really?
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, I believe me. If I'd have lived in Montreal, I'd have declared bankruptcy on a monthly basis.
What were in Vegas? What were the good ones that you remember? Because so many have closed down.
The original Crazy Horse on Paradise, the Tender Trap, which was a tiny little place.
The Tender
I think it's still there. It's called something else now.
It's not. I always get it wrong, and Adam knows it.
Club Platinum or something. I don't know. I'm never on the East Side, so I don't really know.
It's either Club Platinum or Pure Platinum because it's right near the Tuscany. Yeah, I don't know, D. Walker, that it was ever Larry's Villa. I mean, I think that if you wanted variety, like if you wanted kind of the other side of the tracks, maybe.
Yeah. I think that the clubs that changed Las Vegas, where it became, really in places to go, were Crazy Horse 2 and Cheetahs, when Cheetahs first opened.
Yep.
And then along came Spearmint Rhino after that. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to a strip club since 1995, so I don't really know what they're like now. But they were a lot of fun back in those days. A lot of fun.
This person new to this show and us in general? We do. Who talks about strip clubs? We do. Listen, when you live in Vegas, for the longest time, this pandemic sucks because now places are closing, and the town. The town also changed. Visitors got younger and younger, and what we were hearing from strip clubs as of say 6-8 years ago was the younger dudes who used to come out to clubs at night. They were all getting freaking whacked and drugged up in the afternoon of pool parties, and then by 10 o'clock at night, they're out, or they're just raging back at the hotel. So business started to die down a little bit. But yeah, Cheetahs. I always like Cheetahs, and I know they changed the name now, and I'm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did it 6 months ago. Now it's a library. It's the library. So
there used to be a library strip club, which I think was in Henderson. I was never there.
It was at Boulder and 95.
They used to advertise.
Yep. Everyone advertised.
I remember the commercials.
That was the glory days. Everyone advertised.
It was great. I mean, if you were an ad salesman, media ad salesman, you could make a fortune just off the strip clubs back then because they all bought, all of them. They'd spend and they'd buy a lot. We had remotes there.
Yeah.
We did remotes from Cheetahs. We did remotes from. I Seat myself did a remote from someplace on Arville, I think it was. I got in trouble for that one because one of the local weekly newspapers published a picture with Seat myself sitting with a girl on stage, like between her legs. She was on stage, and my girlfriend at the time saw the picture, and her mother saw the picture, which was even worse, and that did not go over well at all.
Yep.
That was like, you're not doing these remotes anymore. And it's like, well, yeah, I am, but I'm not going to tell you.
Were you talking about Play It Again, Sam's?
No.
That one's on Spring Mountain, and is that Wynn? I think.
Yes.
It may have been. Arville. Oh, it's the one by the Orleans that's had 12 names.
No, it was further down the street from that. Might have been on Valley View. I'm not sure which.
It's on Valley View. It was. It was probably best known as Striptease.
I think that's it. Yes, that's it.
Because that's where Sports Pig and I were when Sports Illustrated reached out to us through a friend and wanted to talk about the future of Vegas and Major League Sports popping up in Vegas. But they thought the cool angle was going to be these guys, these radio guys, these sports experts, they do shows at a strip club. Vegas is crazy. And I was like, yeah, it's the norm here. It's not a big deal. It's like we looked at sports bars. I'm sorry, strip clubs. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the titillation and all that, but we were like, these are kind of sports bars for guys too. I mean, guys come in, they don't necessarily hang out with the chicks. They they watch some TV. It's not really that big a deal. It's like Vegas. Everything's a bit desensitized.
Yeah, listen. I hosted Super Bowl parties at Crazy Horse 3, and it was a sports crowd. I mean, everybody was watching the games, including the girls. I saw the Seattle Patriots Super Bowl was there. I've never seen a place go as nuts as the place went absolutely insane on that Patriots interception.
Yeah.
You'd have thought you were at a stadium someplace. I mean, because the whole place had bet the Patriots, and it looks like they're going to lose the game. And Seattle's down there, and then Pete Carroll calls the play of all plays, and they get the pick, and that place went absolutely bananas. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And
by the way, Willie brought up Play It Against Sam's. Play It Against Sam's was originally a jazz club.
Oh wow.
It was a good jazz club. Okay. You go there and have cocktails and there'd be jazz combos. And I didn't know it had changed to a strip club and went in there on a Friday. This is sometime back in the early 90s, I guess it was. I go in there. I think I'll have a couple of drinks, listen to some music. And I walk in and there's girls on a stage. It's like, what happened? I was unaware that it had changed and become a different Play It Against Sam's.
Yeah, that place had I'll put it this way, like a lot of nooks and crannies and alcoves where you could kind of find your own space.
Yes.
That's not always the most legal atmosphere. I'll just say that.
No, it was. There were transactions taking place in there that we not ATM transactions either. Okay, they were strictly cash transactions, and maybe that's part of the reason they went from being a jazz club to a strip bar.
Sure. I mean, we're here to do business, you know. It's funny that Tiger Trek here, when you know what the club was renamed. Well, here's the thing. Okay, yes, I am a lecherous pig, and I toned it down over the years. But it really, like Dave said earlier, it really was part of sports radio's business in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have, up until now, we didn't have major league teams to sell off of. So the strip clubs were trying to get to guys 18 plus. We were able to get a lot of business from them. So, I mean, I'm telling you, and especially when we first came to the station group, Dave, and, you were on at that point, I think, with Hanson back in 2004 and 2005, like, we were a brokered show, right?
Yeah.
So we paid a base fee for an hour or two. Eventually it got pushed to 3 hours. Well, like, we got to cover a certain nut. But you got to go sell your own airtime to back it up. Right. So, hey, strip clubs were easy money. The guy who helped us out the most in terms of funding the show was Mike Beasley, Bees at Cheetahs, who's still in the gaming industry, I think, across the country now. I think he's in Maryland. But yeah, he loved our show. So they spent a good amount of money with us, and then we did all these really cool promotions. And he was a wackadoo, man. He loved sports, so that guy built us here for the first 3 years.
And not to forget the golf outings that these clubs. I mean, they've spent a lot of money sending girls prizes, all kinds of things, and believe me, we packed those fields. People couldn't wait to buy their entry fees into those golf tournaments. They were a lot of fun too. Mm-hmm. The Hack and Snack, I obviously it's not around anymore, but the Hack and Snack, we used to 200 plus entries every year.
Yeah,
it was tremendous, and everybody had a great time.
Boy, I was just going to look through. I have a lot of archive photos of some of those golf courses golf tournaments that were partnered with dancers. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, yeah, it was.
I remember one of them.
A lot of fun.
We were at Bally High of all the courses, and it was a Cheetahs tournament. And like, I turn around and there's just some like giant jugged chick just like running across the course. I'm like, all right. And here's the thing: like, we love the ladies, but it is light out, and then it's still a little bit different. They kind of come out of the. Come out of the as a hermit. They're like, okay, they look a little different. We need the dark light in here, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, we did shows. We did shows at every freaking strip club in town. I didn't care. People like, it was great. My mother came out, right, and she got such a kick that we did shows at strip clubs. We were doing stuff. We were doing shows at Sapphire. She's like, oh, I want to come down. She comes down. The club manager, right? Because it's in the day. It's like we're doing a 3 to 6 show. I don't think it was noon to 2. Yeah, and she starts talking to the manager. The manager gives her a tour of the whole place. We're doing the show. Like 45 minutes later, she's like, "Hey, what's up? I got a tour of the whole place." I'm like, "All right."
My favorite, my least favorite, not because of the club, but just because it was so friggin' dark in there, I couldn't see where the hell I was going. And this is when my eyes were good. Was Spearmint Rhino. I mean, it was just. I couldn't even find where we were broadcasting from because there was no light. My favorite, by far, to do the shows from was Crazy Horse 3 because they had a cappuccino machine in the back. I was like, this is awesome.
That's the other thing. And like, our most recent shows were at Crazy Horse 3, and they built it out. It's right by Raider Stadium, right by the Al. And they've got like a full-scale kitchen. Like, I don't think people realize. I mean, there are obviously, we found out Atlanta's pretty good for that with Lemon Pepper Lou, and Lou Williams escaped the bubble and was going to get its wings. But I think that's kind of a thing that's developed over the years. Vegas, every place used to have, maybe not Cheetahs, but a lot of places had a kitchen. What's the place? Is it still Treasures? The other one that's kind of it's really gaudy. It's off of 15. We did shows there, so And you know what's funny? We just broke into that. My whole
We did
point
them
on
all.
well, my whole point on the strip club thing was when I was younger, New Jersey sucked. We go on a road trip to cover. I think Rutgers was playing Holy Cross. Is Holy Cross and no? Where's Holy Cross? Worcester.
Yeah.
Worcester. And well, the other reason we went is we went to UMass when Calipari first started, and that's in Springfield. And
No, UMass is in Amherst.
Amherst, but is it near Springfield or not?
No, Amherst is in the Berkshires.
Why the fuck was I in Springfield? Whatever. I was in Springfield for some reason.
Oh,
And he's like, I don't know.
nobody wants to be in Springfield. So shit.
we go into the bar and it's totally nude. And I'm telling you, like, you pricks in New England, like back in early 90s, you must not have tipped ever because you'd have women there and they're coming up, they're completely nude, giving you like a 5-minute dance for like $1. Like, here you go. And they're like, oh my God, I got a tip. What can I do for you? I'm like, what is going on in the state? Does anyone tip these women?
That's that old Yankee frugality.
All right.
We'll spend it on lobster, but not on. Not on
I got to save for my lobster rolls.
Gotta have the chowder.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Springfield has an MGM now. Okay. All right. I'll buy it. Yep. And here's Marcus is saying Treasures used to make a pretty good, damn good steak.
There you go.
They did. So there you go. Strip club memories. We could do it all night, but let's get into some picks here. And you did mention what's the line on UNLV and K-State? 6 hours ago, I saw it was like it's 2.
Yeah,
K-State.
I'll have to get my screen back up. I shut it down. It's a close line though. Whoever wins the game probably is going to cover the spread. I can't back UNLV yet, but I've seen Kansas State. They're it's going to be a long year for that team. There's your last place team in the Big 12.
Yeah, he's a good coach. I don't know. He just doesn't have any players right now, so that's on him in the end.
Look, it's the Big 12. You got to be able to recruit some decent talent.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Kansas in football. I mean, I don't know how you can be that bad in the Big 12. Maybe the worst team in the Big 12, but to be among the worst 10 programs in the country on an annual basis it's inexcusable. You can't be that way if you're in a big conference.
Yeah.
Kansas State is now 2.5. We're seeing.
All right. Let's see. College football board. We'll go to the top of the board and go down quickly. If you got some questions for Dave, some games you want broken down, fire away. I want to talk about the game that got canceled. I actually had a big bet on this game. Do it.
Was the Vanderbilt Georgia game, and in fact on the write up that I did, it's like I don't know if this game's going to get played, but let's hope it does because this thing with the female kicker, it isn't going well there.
Hogan with his Tennessee. His volunteer state connections. He's all over Tennessee. He's all over Vanderbilt.
Well, yeah, I do have some good connections there. And the former player was the one who related this information. And he's not that far removed from the program. He's, a couple of years. And particularly with the upperclassmen, they were opting out like crazy this week. They're really pissed off. They think it's a publicity stunt, and they're not happy about it. And they were going to get absolutely massacred at Georgia, but unfortunately, the game got canceled. I have my doubts as to whether it was COVID related. I know that's what they're saying. I am skeptical on that. I think it's that they didn't have enough players to make the trip because a lot of players just don't want to play anymore. So you're going to see some mass transfers, I would think, especially with everybody being eligible to get another year, including seniors. And that's going to play into some unusual stuff as we get into some of these senior days, because normally senior day, it's the last, this is it. Last game at home for the upperclassmen. They're leaving, but they're not leaving. So at a lot of schools, tomorrow's senior day isn't really a senior day because they can come back and play again next year. And it's one of those things you're going to have to factor in that normally might be a factor, and it's not here. Kansas State's a good example of that, by the way. I mean, they're seniors. I don't think they've got anybody who projects as an NFL guy. So their seniors are all going to be back again next year. And this is a big deal for them. They'll get to 5. If they beat Texas, they're 5-5. They want a bowl game. The coaches said, yeah, I definitely want to get to a bowl game. So this is a big game for them. Texas, meanwhile, is having an incredibly awful week as far as distractions are concerned. You've had 3 players who are all NFL prospects decided that's it. We're done. We're not playing. So those are all key guys. And now the news is out there. I mean, it's very public information. They're offering Urban Meyer a big contract. 7 years, $84 million is what I'm hearing.
Oh, wow.
So that means Herman is gone. Whether Urban Meyer takes the job or not, the Boosters have had enough. They really have not played well at all this season. They've got 2 good wins in terms of margin, and one of those was against UTEP, which doesn't even count. And the loss last week was bad. I think Kansas State, despite the fact Kansas State's a pretty limited team, I think Kansas State beats them tomorrow outright.
Wow. Health concerns for Urban Meyer? You worried about that? Oh, I think this is sarcasm. Brady says, have Urban's headaches gotten better since he saw the contract? he's all healthy.
He's a born coach, and he is a great college football coach.
He's awesome.
I mean, you can like him or not like him in terms of personality, or playing this school against the other or whatever. The guy is undeniably one of the best college football coaches who's ever lived.
Yep.
And if he goes to Texas, their fortunes rise exponentially immediately. He's a phenomenal coach.
And he's stop in for about 5 or 6 years and then cut and run because there's so many bodies buried around the program after a half dozen years. He's like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. He might
not even last that long, but there's a good chance that somewhere in that time frame he'll have Texas in the playoffs and they might win a national championship.
Yeah.
And wait till you see. I mean, if he takes that job, wait till you see the grad transfers who line up to go play for him for a year. They'll have their pick of the litter.
Nice. By the way, our chat room very big on Urban Meyer jokes and comments. That's real nice. All right, well that definitely sounds like a like from Dave on K-State against Texas. Someone earlier was asking about Arizona State off a billion-day layoff.
That's the problem, and then it got multiplied this week because 2 of their starting defensive backs got suspended. They're not sick; they just got suspended. So that's not good. They haven't played since the USC game. It's too bad because I had a circle on this game. I think Arizona State is actually better than UCLA, and 3 is a cheap number. But with all the other stuff, I can't play them. But I don't know that I want UCLA here.
Would you lean Missouri 3 against Arkansas?
No, I think that's a toss-up. I didn't really see much of anything on that game. Yeah, both programs are showing some improvement. I like the Missouri coach. I think Drinkwitz is going to do a really good job there. And Arkansas has made some progress this year. I mean, and they're not, it's not like either one of these teams is ever going to be a serious title contender in the SEC. They're just, it's just almost impossible for them to compete on a recruiting basis with the superstar teams in the league. But they can both be really good. And I think they both moved in the right direction this season.
By the way, on Arizona State against it was UCLA, and they're laying 3. We got our buddy Willie Ramirez in tonight. What's up, Willie?
What's up, guys? How are you? I'm going to tell you the drive home from the gym and Chiba Hut was quite entertaining, considering the fact that because Dave and I could probably do 2 of these shows talking about the strip clubs from the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
So that was a great conversation on the drive home. I appreciate it.
It was fun. Those were the days, Willie.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
That's our cup of tea across the board. Might not be as prolific as we used to be, but that was our cup of tea in the old days, right?
Yeah. The town has definitely changed.
They are the old days.
Yeah. Now they are. You're right. They are. All right, Willie, you're cool. You're doing stuff with gaming today. I know you're better. You follow this stuff, so we'll go through the games with you and Dave. I'll throw them out. You guys can react. We had a request for Tennessee and Florida earlier, and Florida's laying 17. Why don't you start, Willie? What do you think of this game?
This is always one of those matchups where because of the rivalry, you always have you kind of wonder who's gonna, if Tennessee's gonna show up and what they're gonna bring. Laying 17.5 on the road. I mean, Florida's obviously got the talent above and beyond Tennessee, and Tennessee's had some. I believe wasn't it Tennessee earlier in the season they had some COVID issues.
They had more coaching issues than anything else.
Okay, yeah,
that's the school that had. They asked all 10 assistants to take a cut, and 8 of them said no. And it's been all straight downhill since then.
Yeah, I don't think that. I just don't think that they have enough to challenge what Florida brings this year. It's with everything that's taken place off. I know Teresa Walker, who an AP colleague, had done some stuff earlier this season, and I know that she was she had her hands full with a lot of off-field issues involving that team. So I just don't think that. I mean, I'm never one to lay in a rivalry game, a conference game, lay that many on the road. I mean, SEC is a little bit different with the powers, but Florida is probably. I mean, if I was going to take a lean on that side, I would probably go with Florida.
Yeah. So Bailey will be the quarterback tomorrow for Tennessee. It'll be his first start. He got a little garbage time and actually got a nice drive in the Auburn game. Guarantano, Mr. Pick Six himself, he has COVID issues, so he's definitely not playing. So Bailey will be the quarterback tomorrow. Tennessee continues to have a multitude of problems, though, and the locals they're down in the program. I mean, this is it's kind of a low point for Tennessee football right now. They're going to have some changes on the staff in the offseason. Pruitt's going to be back in all likelihood, but most of the staff won't be. So it's kind of a chaotic situation. And you got Trask, who, they're trying to get him Heisman numbers. It'd be Tennessee or nothing. Excuse me, Florida or nothing for me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the odds makers, and I've made my money betting against Tennessee. I think Tennessee's probably been my best team this year because I was on them early and got a nice win. Don't remember who, but got a good win, and have been against them lately, and that's resulted in profits. And they're a terrible home team against the spread, really bad. I think they're like 7 straight losses against the spread at home. They used to have one of the biggest home field advantages in college football.
Yeah, they've lost 5 straight, and the first 2. I'm sorry to cut you off, Dave, but I mean,
no, it's all right.
I
do it all the time.
They put up 31 and 35 in their first 2, and they haven't gone above 21 since. Their offense has just gone to shit. I guess we can say that, right?
Yes. Yeah, this is cable.
So yeah, you're right. The defense has gone to hell.
The only reason I didn't lay it tomorrow is I think the odds makers have finally caught up, and the books are having trouble getting any bets on Tennessee at this point. So they're making high numbers, and I don't like paying a premium.
Someone asking about Virginia and Boston College. Virginia 3.5. You said good game?
Yeah, that's a good game. I think 3.5 it's gotten to the point now where, you kind of missed the boat if you like Boston College because that number's come down. But it's a good matchup. I mean, Virginia's pass defense is not very good, and Boston College pretty much just wants to throw the ball all the time now. But Bronco's doing his thing at Virginia, and very quietly, they're on a winning streak now. He is a fabulous college football coach.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely fabulous. I don't know why he hasn't gotten more recognition over the years, but he's an elite college coach, in my opinion. I think that's one of the best games on the board tomorrow, not for betting. I don't know what to do with it from a betting standpoint, but actually a game that I want to watch because I think it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah, I think that with Virginia right now, you're going to get value numbers too, because if you just look at it on paper, statistically, they're behind the 8 ball. They've allowed more passing than they've gained. They've gained a little bit more rushing, but their offense has been outgained by the opposition. But as you mentioned, they're on a nice little winning streak, so they're just trying to. They start off 1-4, and that's why their numbers are down. But in reality, their offense has picked up. They've scored 130 points in the last 3 games after being stagnant in 4 straight losses. So the momentum's picking up. Granted, they're coming off of a game against Abilene Christian, but still they're starting to find their rhythm, starting to find their groove. So yeah, I think you're going to find value numbers based on the statistics right now. So I mean, they got 2 games left on the card, BC and then Virginia Tech. So it could be a good value play.
Yeah, and I'll probably be on them against Virginia Tech because that's the opposite. Fuente's done a really bad job this year. I don't know how much of it's his fault because they've had a lot of COVID issues, but Virginia Tech is going backwards this year. Very disappointing team, and Virginia is getting better as the season goes along. So that's one that, I think you might want to look at the more storied program there, which the more it's kind of like it's one of those rivalries where Virginia is the intellectual school and Virginia Tech's kind of they're the Hokies. And there's no love lost there, but I think Virginia is getting better at this point, and Virginia Tech isn't. That might be a good take on rivalry week.
I know we're on football, but let me ask you a quick question, Dave. Speaking of Virginia, because it popped in my head just right before I went to the gym, they lost to San Francisco in college hoops. They stumbled again. They got Michigan State on deck in a few days. I'm going to be curious to see what that number is because I think Izzo's going to have that team ready to roll. Virginia's, I don't know what's going on with their college basketball team, but that's, at first I thought the Frisco's win was maybe a fluke or Virginia took them lightly. Then then Frisco goes in and wipes Nevada clean. So, I mean, I'm just curious to see what happens with Virginia and Michigan State because I think that's coming up on the 9th.
Yep, and Virginia almost got beat tonight by Kent State.
Yes,
Michigan State almost got beat by Detroit.
Yeah,
they had a big flat side. That was a really bad job by me not to take Detroit plus 27.5 today. Because if there was a dead spot for Michigan State, this was it, and I just flat out missed it. There's times when you do well at this stuff, and there's times when you look after a game and it's like, what the hell? How did I miss that?
Yeah,
That's the nature of the handicapping beast.
And that could be the wake-up call for the game for the 9th against Virginia. That was the team. That was what I was thinking of, is that close call against Kent State. It was overtime. So I saw Virginia, or you brought up Virginia, and it just triggered my memory because I had thought about that, or I saw that earlier.
Someone asking about BYU and Coastal. Completely fascinating game. Really cool game the way they set it up. Willie, what do you think? Can Coastal pull off the upset? Unbeaten team, Cinderella story, catch an 11.
I've been riding this team. I like Coastal Carolina. I've had them all year. Liked them against App State. The only thing I'm worried about is everything's out there in the open. You see BYU. They had it all over Twitter. The bus ride, the last minute, trip. Coastal Carolina ranked top 15. The defense. Yet you look up and the odds makers are putting a double-digit number. And is it a trap? Is it what? I like Coastal Carolina. I've been following them. I think they're legit. I know the competition may not stack up, but if you look at strength of schedule, but on some scales that I looked up today, they're relatively even. Some others, BYU's a little bit higher. I think Coastal Carolina is going to come into this one revved up. They're not the ones that had to go on the move. They're not the ones that had to reschedule. BYU, they're always going to be tough, but I don't know if it's an 11-point game, 10, 11-point game. I like the underdog here. Dave?
I'm not playing it because it's just such short prep time. I don't know. But BYU is physically superior to Coastal Carolina. They're a lot bigger. And the thing that worries me about Coastal is they were preparing for Liberty. And this is a completely different style football team. I don't know. I think BYU might nail him tomorrow. BYU's got, let's call it straight. BYU, whether they deserve it or not, or whether they've actually got a chance or not, it's a monster game for BYU. If they go in and, if BYU, Sataki's got to know this. If they go in and win that game by 30, if they just win, it doesn't do them any good. Okay, it's just nice story. You went in and beat Liberty, whoop-de-doo, or Coastal Carolina. But if they go out there and beat the crap out of Coastal Carolina, now they can start to build more of a case to say, hey, we're legit. We belong in this playoff conversation. I'm not saying they do belong in it or not, but that's their case. So that worries me. If you're liking Coastal, BYU is not going to take their foot off the metal in this game. If they have a chance to run it up, And I don't know that they will, but if they have a chance to run it up, they're going to.
And I think, like I said, it's one of those. The odds makers are telling it. It's set up for the squares. It sucks that it's set up for the squares to fall prey to that big number and jumping on Coastal, just because I've been on Coastal all year. So, and the one time I would jump off would be like, why'd you jump off? So I don't want to look at it like a square play, but the odds makers are dictating. You know how it is, Dave. I mean, that's a big number. So they're telling you that. I mean, they're not throwing that up there for kicks. So
no, I made the number 12.
Yeah.
So it's kind of where I have the game power rated. Wyoming, New Mexico. Well, Wyoming. What's the running back? Xavier, the Wyoming running back. He's a really good player. Xavier Valade.
My mic was on.
Xavier Valade.
Yeah, I don't know if he's playing.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of their offense. New Mexico can't play at all, and it's they're just really adverse circumstances for the Lobos. Wyoming making their second straight trip to Las Vegas, but if the running back's not out there, hey, he is a really terrific Mountain West running back. He's just a terrific running back. I watch him on a regular basis because we see all the Wyoming games, and that guy he's an elite college running back. Great player. And I don't know whether he goes tomorrow. And if he does, I don't think he's going to be out there the whole game.
That's a big number. A team like, for Wyoming, it's not like they're an elite Mountain West team. I get it. New Mexico's, at the bottom there. I mean, along with UNLV. But they're not, to lay 18 points on the road. You got Boise State on deck.
It's not on the road.
Are they going to be? Yeah, it's not on the road. It's neutral. Are they going to look? Are they going to look past? Why are they going to look past New Mexico to Boise?
Are
they even going to get to play that game? That's a question.
But that does worry me. But that's why, if Boise wasn't on deck, I'd say, well, they're going to go. The running back will be out there, and they'll have.
Yeah.
If they're done with this game at halftime, they'll coast home. That can make it difficult to cover a big number. But the Lobos are. Ooh, boy, they're bad.
Yeah. The thing, what was it? The one neutral game was against Reno, and they covered, right? 27-20 final here when they played. They played Reno here, UNR.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and they're looking for their first win, so they're going to be going balls out, and so that's I don't know about that. If put a gun to my head, I probably would take the dog in that one, but I wouldn't play the game.
Yeah, I would take the dog only for this reason. Dave's point on Valade is really good, but their backup I think is awesome. Trey Smith, but I don't know that he's like a 25 carry a game guy. And then they start going younger, and they're not really a passing team. So I could see New Mexico hanging around, losing by 14. This is interesting. I just wanted to mention a basketball point real quick because Chris Cash threw it out there saying, I heard New Mexico lost to a D2 team behind closed doors. Where'd you hear that? Because we actually had it on the show on Wednesday. Joe Esposito, who's down, former UNLV assistant, actually he said it on the show, and he had tweeted me a picture the other day. He's like, no one's really supposed to know this, and then of course he blurted it out on the air. But yeah, New Mexico basketball is going to be a little rough early because we know New Mexico can't. Clearly, the Lobos are here. They can't. They can barely practice in New Mexico. Yep. Now they're being pushed out of the state, so I think the Lobos are going to have a tough time at the beginning of the season in basketball.
Couldn't agree more. I don't know what they'll do with the number once New Mexico's actually on the court, but them and the Aggies, they're really up against it. They're probably any argument? They're probably the two most disadvantaged programs in all of D1.
Oh yeah,
in terms of the practice situation.
Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. Oh, all right. I'm going to mute my mic on this one. Penn State and Rutgers. I already have my money down. Penn State is 11.5.
Well, we talked about this one on the show this afternoon. I don't know what Penn State's incentive is. They're not. They got to win.
They got their
Michigan.
win.
So they kind of, they wanted to win a game, but that doesn't erase the program's problems. And I don't know why they'd be particularly interested in Rutgers. Rutgers, on the other hand, is going to treat this like a Super Bowl. They don't have the personnel Penn State has, but I think Rutgers, if you're going on effort, double digits, home team that probably wants it more, yeah, I'll go with that.
And is riding a little momentum off of a win over at Purdue. So, I agree. Double-digit dog, and I agree 100%. Penn State, they got their win finally. So I mean, this is a flat spot, like we just talked about with Michigan State's basketball team. And this is, if there was a flat spot to find, double-digit favorite on the road that finally picked up its first win this season, and Rutgers, carrying some momentum over from a road win, I definitely like the Scarlet Knights here. I mean, that's a game that I would play home dog for sure.
Yeah, Adam loved this line during the week from Greg Schiano, who said it's not a rivalry game. Like it's like New Jersey candor. He followed it up by saying, like, yeah, we haven't made it a rivalry. Basically, like, we stink. We don't beat them. So it's not a rivalry until we actually pull even with them. So that's part of his motivation speech before the game. Personal story on this one. When my freshman year, right, I went to Rutgers. I didn't know a whole lot about the football program when I got there. And I'm there for 4 weeks. And Rutgers goes on the road. I think it was on the road, if I remember correctly, and beats Penn State. They haven't done it since.
Oh,
this week, the 1988 team had this big celebration. Like, yeah, we did it. We're the last team to do it. Now, think about when you're in school, right? And you don't know a whole lot about your school or the football program. And I'm like, oh, this is good. It's going to be a good football school. You're going to have a lot of good times here. A lot of wins against Penn State, right? Like, nope, that was it. And then, of course, I became a bigger fan, and it's just been every year. Well, it's not every year, but, most years just a fucking punch in the face from whoever was coaching Penn State, Joe Pa most of the time. So
how far is that, Steve, from the distances, since the states are right there?
From Piscataway to Harrisburg, I can't remember exactly. Probably 3-hour drive. I do know, like, when you're getting closer to Harrisburg, or it's Harrisburg up to State College, but like that last end of the drive just goes on for fucking ever. And I'm telling you, Happy Valley, it's a weird place. It's a real weird place. And that stadium, when you're the punching bag in that stadium, and have you guys ever been to a game there?
no.
It's pretty crazy because it's typical powerhouse college football stadium. It's fucking gigantic, and they play that goddamn like lion roar thing. It's not even a roar. It's just like I can't even do it anymore. Just over and over, like every first down, you're like
a growl.
Yeah, it's just same thing happened at Syracuse, because Syracuse had a really good team back when I was in school, and it was just like 49-0 at the half. But Penn State was maddening with the freaking growl.
Syracuse. That's when Jim Brown was there, right?
By the
way, are there any? What's the strip club scene in Happy Valley like? Do you know?
Dude, I have no idea. I know. I like I said, I was in college when I did the the Massachusetts thing, but I think when we went to Happy Valley, we weren't looking. So maybe there's some there. I doubt it though.
Steve was stopping off in Binghamton on his way to Syracuse for strippers.
Is it actually a strip club town? I've actually never been to Binghamton.
I don't know if it's a strip club town. All I know is it's my son's mother's hometown, and I've been there a few times. They have a little scrappy basketball program I believe it's the America East. But
They also, Binghamton. Yes, they're in that conference, I believe it is. And they have an American Hockey League franchise in Binghamton, which actually, when they came into existence, it's in Broome County.
Yep.
And they called them the Broome Dusters.
Yeah.
Which
With an
is
E,
just an
Broome with
awful
an
name.
E. They were
right.
They were the Rangers.
Yes,
when Jordan was little, we went up there. It was the Rangers and went to a game, but I believe they're with the Devils now.
They were with the Rangers because they were when the Providence Reds, which is my hometown team, went belly up. They moved to Binghamton, and then came back as the Providence Bruins, and still exist in that fashion now. But obviously without me supporting them.
What do you guys think of Stanford and Washington, Dave?
I don't know. I guess I'll watch and see how much the restrictions that are now in place for these Northern California teams, or I don't know whether it's the whole state or what, but this could be a New Mexico-like situation for Stanford. So I kind of want to watch the game tomorrow and see how they look, I guess. The Huskies coming off a rather spectacular come-from-behind win against Utah, where they were down 21-0 at the half and won it late. But I don't know what to make of Stanford. So this is going to be a learning experience because it could very well be that the distraction factor for Stanford and Cal could be substantial. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, because you don't even know what Stanford's been able to do ever since they did the shutdown. Where they're going, where they practice, if they got. I mean, Tara Vanderveer is bringing the basketball team here for 3 games with starting tomorrow. So I mean, it's they're having to shut down, then pack up, go somewhere. I mean, if anything, it's advantageous for Washington, a good spot for them. But I agree. I mean, you have to just see how they respond. Their last game, Stanford's last game was supposed to be a home game against Oregon State. And where are they going to go after Washington? Do you even go back to Palo Alto to practice, or do you got to find another location? I mean, no matter what you say, no matter what anybody says, it's these off-field distractions for these kids. I mean, let alone all the things that we've been talking about all season with the Raiders here in town and other NFL teams. I mean, these are 18 to 23-year-old kids and getting shut down. And now what do we do? And I mean, you just don't know how it's affecting them. So, I mean, if anything, it's more advantageous for the home team here to get the win for sure, get the cover. I mean, I think it's about 11.5 now.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Oh, is that the first down?
Yeah, that's it's when they get 28 first downs. You're like, all right, with the goddamn Lions roar. You're on your way to a 63 to 3 loss. Let's see. What do we want to move on to? You know what? I actually wanted to ask about another Mountain West game. San Jose State and Hawaii. I think San Jose State is really good, but
so do I.
Hawaii's look good at times too. So San Jose State is 2.5.
Yeah, it's going up. It originally was San Jose 6 when they were the home team, but that got switched obviously, and they relined it at Pick'em, and San Jose money's come in. I agree with that. I took San Jose at Pick'em. They played really well. I think Brennan's done a phenomenal job as the head coach. And Hawaii beat me last week. I had to play on Nevada. It obviously did not work out. It's not. I don't want to take away at all from what Hawaii did, because I thought Graham had a great game plan last week against Nevada, and he outcoached Norville by a mile in that game. But Hawaii still had some things go spectacularly right for them in that game. They had a third and forever at their own 5-yard line, and there's a pass interference penalty down the field that had nothing to do with the play. That was just a horrible play by Nevada. That was big. There was another play where they 3rd and 20 or something. The guy runs for 25. So they had a lot of things go right, and Nevada did not make good adjustments in the game. It's as simple as that. I thought Strong had a very poor game, and I thought Norville had a very poor game, to be quite honest. I don't think Hawaii is that good, and I think they maybe bounce a little bit off last week. So the Warriors, the Spartans, haven't played a lot of football lately, and you wonder what that does to their momentum. But I think on paper, San Jose State rates the favorites' role in this game, and if they play their game, they're going to win.
Yeah, I think because neither team necessarily depends on the rushing game, and they actually give up more to the opposition, that both teams' running games can move the chains between the 40s, and I think the passing games thrive. I kind of like the over. I think it could turn into a little bit of a shootout. The fact that it's that the venue has switched. San Jose's got to bring that up tempo. They got to continue their momentum. They got to use their strengths, and Hawaii's just going to play into it. Temperature should be nice. I kind of like the over. I think it's high 50s. They could get into the 60s, these two.
All right. Ball State, Central Michigan, CMU is 1.5.
Yeah, they're down to like a 4th-string quarterback, and I don't know anything about him.
Maction has been funky all year. That's a hit or miss conference for me.
Yeah. Ball State's best player is probably Huntley, their running back, and he's hurt. So you got a lot of unknowns in this football game. I think there's a lot better ones to look at than games where you're dipping down the depth chart. And unless you're really close to those programs, probably don't know who the players are. I mean, I know who the lead guys are for these teams, but I can't tell you much about the 4th quarterback for Central Michigan. And I know that Ball State really relies on Huntley. And I don't trust their coach, quite honestly. He's not real good in close games.
It's funny, I said about the MAC, I mean, these two teams, But the one game that I did look at out of the MAC was the Bowling Green Akron, two crap teams that haven't won. And Akron, they're both looking for their first win, I believe. In Akron, if you look at who they played and the two common opponents, Akron's actually been a little more competitive. Bowling Green's just been a dumpster fire for the most part on defense all season, and mine's like 2.5. That was the only one that stood out of that conference, and I kind of like Akron at home to get their first win. I think they're in a better spot there with as bad as Bowling Green. And like I said, when you look at their two common opponents, I want to say it was Kent State and Toledo. Akron put up a little bit more of a fight, was a little more competitive. In Bowling Green, I think nine of the major statistical categories, they're ranked 125th. 126th or 127th. There's 127 teams playing. So they're third worst, second worst, or worst in 9 major statistical categories on the NC2A site right now on overall. So that was the one MAC game I saw was Akron.
Now, the game I wanted to watch out of the MAC was Buffalo and Ohio, but that got scratched.
Squashed, yeah.
Yep.
Oklahoma State, TCU.
Don't want Oklahoma State. They've got injuries. I think Gundy's a twit. I don't think he's. I think he's a lousy head coach.
You're a classic college football clunt.
Yep, I'll take TCU.
Yeah, I'm with Dave there. I'm not an Oklahoma State fan as far as backing them coaching wise. I'd much rather depend on TCU, and I didn't really look at the game, to be honest with you, but I mean, if I was going to play that one, I certainly would look at TCU before I would look at Oklahoma State. I don't have an opinion on the game, though.
And for Sports Dogma, we started talking early about Texas in that game, and Dave's on K-State. It could be Herman's last game. The team's fractured, so yeah.
Did you guys talk about? I hadn't heard it, and then from my time in from the car to getting online, the Mountain West, Nevada, Fresno State, Nevada.
Yeah,
I don't know how Nevada reacts to last week. I mean, they had some highfalutin dreams up in Reno, and they came crashing down last week. And you wonder, how does a team respond to losing a game? And they lost that football game.
Yeah,
they flat out lost that football game. They bit them. They shot themselves in the foot on a regular basis. Took a lot of bad penalties. Were undisciplined, and now they come home no longer unbeaten. I don't like teams in that situation. I think they're better than Fresno. That's no secret. They've got more talent than Fresno, but that was a big momentum buster last week for Nevada, and I don't think I want them here.
See, I'm on the opposite end of that. I actually think everything you just brought up about them that made them look bad is a reason to play them. I think they're correctable mistakes, and Fresno coming off wins over UNLV and Utah State. Yes, they've won 3 in a row, but I just think that I think it's a good spot. I think that Nevada can bounce back because of those self-inflicted mistakes and the fact that they're the better team. They shot themselves in the foot. They were outplayed because of the mistakes they made, and they're correctable. It's not as if they were outplayed because their talent didn't come through, or it was the other team was better. I think it was on them, and you come off wins over Nevada, UNLV and Utah State. It's nothing really to brag about. So I think they're going to be pissed off. I think Nevada's going to roll Fresno State tomorrow.
All right, on to the NFL. Dave, what do you think of Colts 3 against the Texans?
I think the roof might be about ready to cave in Houston, as if it hasn't already. I mean, let's face it, it's been a bad year already, but it's a lame duck coaching staff for the most part. Now you've lost Fuller. Colts get one of their best defensive guys back, whose name escapes me right now, but I think the Colts have a good chance to go in there and beat them by a margin.
Willie?
Yeah, I'm not I have been absolutely, well, not anymore, but at the beginning of the season, I had somewhat thought Houston would stumble, but then I haven't been able to really get on the right sides of the Colts games. And every time I try to jump in and handicap the Colts games, I end up on the wrong side of it. But I definitely agree with Dave that Houston is just ready to pack it in. And it's a spot where the Colts, I think they need to win. They have to. This is one of those games where you don't want to come out with a clunker, and it's not like a must win, but you need to win these games. And I don't think that they need to just win the game. They need to come out, knowing that they dominated in every facet. So I mean, if you're going to play that game, I think you have to take the Colts.
Yeah, Buckner, that's who I was thinking of for the Colts. Good player, really good player. Big piece of their defense.
All right.
And the Colts are sitting on the 7th seed right now, just in front of the Raiders and Ravens. So in a sense, it is a must-win. So
I mean, that's the part that scares me. I don't like must-wins.
Yeah.
But the Colts are in trouble if they lose this game.
Yeah, well, big time. Yeah.
Atlanta and New Orleans. New Orleans laying just 3, and now it's 3 even. What do you think, Willie?
I like the Saints. I do. I like the Saints. I think Atlanta. I think Gruden summed it up when he said Atlanta was the best 3-7 team, or the best 3-win team. But I also think that Atlanta shot its wad and could come out flat here. And I think that they may have somewhat opened New Orleans' eyes. If the Raiders gave Atlanta everything that they had, and didn't lay an egg, I think Atlanta left the blueprint there for New Orleans to figure out, to come in and stop. And I don't think that the Falcons are going to have as easy a time as they did last week. If I was going to, and New Orleans' defense, let's be real. New Orleans' defense has tightened up and has played phenomenal football. So I lean toward the Saints in this one.
I lean the opposite way. It's a quick revenge. These teams just played 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
New Orleans beat them. I think the Falcons are feeling pretty good about themselves. Their defense has really come on nicely. They were awful the first 4 weeks of the season. And basically, since Quinn left, the defense has played really well. And to me, the Falcons are looking at this. This is their Super Bowl. This is their main rival, and they don't want to get swept by New Orleans. And I think they've got a real good shot in this game. And I think that Chris's comment is something too. I think the Falcons like Raheem Morris, and they want to give him a real shot to win this job.
Yeah. The one game that just stands out to me that's just astonishing with the Saints defense is allowing only 3 points in Tampa Bay. I just keep going back to that. I know they just beat Denver, which had their issues. They beat Atlanta when they're still struggling 24-9 at home. Yes. But that win in Tampa Bay just continues to stick in my head, how that defense has somewhat turned around. I mean, you look at the numbers that they were giving up early on before the bye week. So I'll stick with the Saints. Of course, I'm going against the master, Mr. Koken.
Not me, not in the NFL. I've never claimed to be great in the NFL. I'm actually having a good season, but I'm much better in college than the NFL as a rule.
Yeah, JVT, while he was on Cofield and Company today, said he was on the Falcons in this situation. So let's see. What do you think of Arizona and the Rams? Rams 3 even. There's a 2 and it was all 3 even. What do you think, Dave?
I wish the Rams hadn't lost last week. I would have rather. This might have been a spot where it's okay. It's a good spot to go against them here, but that was it. That was a big loss for them last week. I'm still not sure what that did. That division's getting actually very difficult. Mm-hmm. Because you can basically throw a blanket over the 4 teams right now, and you can actually make a case that were it not for the injuries, and they've had so many injuries, the 49ers would be the best team in that division.
Both teams are in
Seattle's got tremendous defensive issues,
yes.
Which the Eagles couldn't take advantage of them, but the Eagles are pretty bad. But their defense is no good, and I think the other 2 teams are incomplete, to put it simply. The Rams and Cardinals. It's really a shame what happened to the 49ers. I mean, that's a really good football team that has just been, just demolished by injuries.
I somewhat liken this to the Rams trip to Miami. Obviously, they're not traveling as far, but, young, sort of uptick team in Arizona, catching the Rams in a sandwich game, They went to Tampa, come home for Frisco. Now they're going to Arizona, and Arizona's in a sandwich game too. This is they went to New England, come home for the Rams, and they're going to head to Jersey next week, play the Giants. I like the home dog here. I'm leaning toward Arizona. I kind of been I've admired from afar. I haven't really ventured into too many Arizona games. I have a couple of the NFC West games for Gaming Today, doing my write-ups, but this one in particular, I somewhat lean toward the Cardinals.
Not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Aaron's comment.
Yeah. All right, let's stick with the team in the division. San Fran is pick against the Bills. Dave?
Yeah, 49ers. I'm just not. I'm sold that the 49ers they're just injuries away from being right back in the hunt to make the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, that's going to kill them. But the problem here is what I said earlier about Stanford in college. I don't know what the situation is for the Arizona 49ers. If this game was in San Francisco, I'd probably be all over the 49ers. But it's not. It's in Arizona. And I can't tell you much about the Arizona 49ers at this point.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting there scrolling through the comments. I had to go find what Dave was laughing at. Hey, let me go back real quick. I was just looking at when you brought up Rams Cardinals in my mind. I was thinking, I know I wrote about this game, and it was in Gaming Today. I actually put up the under for that one, defensive battle, because I believe these two teams, those are the teams with the largest, with the most unders. Both those teams, if you look at the over under records, they've had the most unders, both those teams, or they're near the bottom. One of them's at the bottom, one of my second or third most unders. So it might be a little bit of a defensive battle there.
Aaron, you had a good comment. Leave it at that, because this one's not a good comment. They've always been more dangerous with Mullins than Jimmy G. Check the records. Okay? Check the records. They've got a really good record with Garoppolo as quarterback. Really good. They do not have a really good record with Mullins. Jimmy G might not be a superstar, but he's way better than Mullins, okay? And the team's better than with Jimmy G than Mullins. Just you have to check records when you've got somebody on an anal idiot like me who spends time poring over numbers, okay? And you couldn't be more wrong on that comment based on the win-loss record for the 49ers with Jimmy G at quarterback as opposed to Mullins. It is.
Do it.
Steve,
back to the old days, Mount Koken.
Well, Steve, I was going to say, Steve, you know what we used to call Dave at when Seat Williams would invite us down for the Stardust line, and he had the stage set up, the dais at the sports book, and they had that little handicappers library room to the side. They say, "Oh, don't worry, we'll just check with Encyclopedia Dave." That was, I mean, don't worry, you don't have to go to the handicappers library. We'll just talk to Dave. Encyclopedia Dave will be here. Yeah. Dave Koken, he could rattle off anything from the top of his head.
I'm not as good anymore with the numbers. No, but I still know the basic numbers, and the Jimmy G numbers versus the Mullins numbers are there's a spectacular differential. Okay.
What about this one? Look ahead spot for the Bills?
Could be.
Well, no, I don't buy that much in the NFL. I think it's bigger in college than it is in the NFL.
They got what, the Steelers next week? Yeah. And they're coming off the win over the Chargers. I mean, I lean toward the 49ers, not because of a look ahead. I mean, and I don't think Dave's right, but I mean, I don't think that it can happen in the NFL, but I don't think you're looking past the 49ers after what they did. I mean, they may not be headed to the postseason, but at this point, they're playing for pride. Let's not forget that they're defending NFC champs, and they are coming out a little bit pissed off each week with what's gone on this season. So I don't think that they have a right to look past the 49ers.
What a freaking slap in the face, though. Niners playing in this weird neutral road spot. Bills are 8-3, and the Bills aren't favored. And where do you think the money's going, guys? Do you think by Sunday morning it's Niners 1.5 everywhere? Is the money going to flow towards the Niners?
No.
Isn't that what's the line now? I thought that's where it was.
We're at pick.
Scattered. It looks like on.
It's pick, and there's I'm looking at VI, which is not as good as.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Las Vegas odds on VI. I see ones and picks. Frisco ones and pick. I see one.
Yeah.
DraftKings has Buffalo 1, but I see a bunch of ones on Frisco and some picks.
All right, so 1.5, 2. Does it keep going to San Fran, or does it even out and stay here?
I think it's going to stay where it's at.
Right. Raiders, good.
This one's being played in Arizona, correct?
Correct.
Where Buffalo just lost the Hail Mary game.
Yeah, that was a
Raiders heavily favored, well, somewhat, against the Jets. No Jacobs, no Abram. Willie?
Raiders are going to cover. I think the Jets are going to give them everything they got in the first half, and the Raiders are going to pull away. It'll be something similar to the Cleveland game. They're not going to come off that game against Atlanta. And if they went into Atlanta and lost close or blasted the Falcons, the line would be bigger. We'd be talking possibly about the Jets, keeping it close. The Raiders trying to stay relatively healthy and coasting to a win. But I think the Raiders they're going to, and it's weird, and Adam can attest to this. I don't know if you're still on, Adam, but it's weird. When the Raiders come off losses, they seem to be more chipper and more accommodating on their Zoom press conferences. You kind of get the feeling like they've been having good practices. They've come together. Carr was the first person to come out and say after the game last week on the Zoom that it wasn't a good week of practice. And that was off the tough game against the Chiefs. They seem to be in a better mood off losses and more talkative, and maybe that's a sign that the camaraderie, they came together, whatever it may be. But I just think that they're gonna put it together and put a spanking on your Jets. Dave?
I'm looking up Garoppolo and Mullins numbers. Well, I like proving a point. Let's see, 16-6.
I thought Garoppolo going into the Super Bowl was something like 21-5 as a starter.
I think he's 24-8 career.
I got the StatHead subscription. Let me pull.
I think he's 17-8 or something like that with the 49ers. Go ahead and check out Mullins' record.
Hang on.
And Dave does the.
Well, and Mullins got a better arm. No, he doesn't. What are you watching?
They're Niners fans. They're watching, man.
No, I know. Nick Mullins. People, I don't know why this is. Fans they absolutely love their team's backup quarterbacks until they actually play.
Yeah. As a Jets fan, I'm scared the fuck about Flacco getting in the game. Raiders, please don't take out Darnold. Flacco's better right now.
Yeah. Mullins is 7-9 lifetime, by the way. Okay.
There's a lot of his defense let him down in those 9 games.
No, he's a good backup. As backups go, Mullins is one of your better guys in the league. But there's a reason he's not a starting quarterback, okay? He's not a good enough quarterback to be a starter. Jimmy Garoppolo is. I don't understand what I have no I guess I'll have to put it as simply as this. If you don't think Garoppolo's a good NFL quarterback, you don't know anything about football. It's as simple as that.
Oh, well, that's
he's not a great quarterback.
I'm
not going to tell you he's a great quarterback.
That's different.
He's not an elite. He's not a top 5 quarterback. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. But he's above average NFL starting quarterback.
I don't think he is, and those are dirty words on Cofield and company. I think he's honestly, I think he's in the 15 to 22 range, and here's the problem: we're also judging it with what he makes. Like when he's back to what he should make, which is he should be like a $14 million a year guy, not pushing $30 million. He'll start for someone.
Yeah.
But I don't believe he's he's above
not top tier.
I don't think he's the top half of the league quarterback. And I think, Dave, a lot of it has been covered up by the fact that Little Shanahan is a freaking offensive genius.
Sure enough.
He'll be able to, which might say a lot. And also the fact that he can boost up Mullins from time to time. You know what I wanted to ask you before we get to
let's put him in. I'll take your side here. We'll put him in the 15 to 20 range.
Right.
Okay.
Who's better? By the way, who's better?
Mullins isn't. He's not. Mullins isn't in the top 30. He's not a starting quarterback.
All right. Who's better, Jimmy G or Derek Carr?
I would go with
taking Derek Carr.
I would take Garoppolo.
I would take Carr.
You're taking Garoppolo over Carr?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, you like Jimmy G. All right.
Yeah, I think I think he's had a few bad games that have, for some reason, I don't know. Maybe the fact that he was expected to be, maybe this is overstating it, but there's a lot of people thought, well, he's going to be the next Brady now that he's away from Brady, and I thought that was absurd. But I mean, guy wins games. They got to the Super Bowl last year. That's pretty good, and he wasn't bad. I mean, it's not like it's not like he was the reason they didn't win the Super Bowl. They just ran into somebody named Mahomes.
Hey, Willie.
Yes.
Just a warning. Turn down your headphones just a little bit. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Aaron Solgood, Koken Patriot bias.
Aaron, your comments are getting worse. I haven't given a shit about the Patriots for 40 years. Okay. I've lived out here since the 80s. The last time I went to a Patriots game was in the 70s, and it was such a rotten experience. I vowed to never. In fact, I've never gone to an NFL game since. I couldn't care less about the Patriots.
That was under control.
I'm still kind of a Red Sox fan, but it's waned over the years. I was a hardcore fan until they finally won it in 2004, and I kind of relaxed after that. Kind of like the Bruins a little bit, but since the Golden Knights have come into existence, I think I root for the Golden Knights more. And I wouldn't call myself a good Golden Knights fan because I'll freely bet against them if I think they're going to lose the game. I'm not really much of a fan. I'm a sports bettor. So I'm a fan of, I was a big Eastern Illinois fan yesterday.
Yeah.
Not because Jay Spoonhour is the coach. And by the way, they didn't cover the spread, so I became even less of a fan after that game. But no, I don't give I couldn't care less about that stuff.
Do you think, we talked to Chris Canty today on the show, and Chris does radio in New York, and he played in the NFL and the Giants and the Ravens and the Cowboys. We were talking about the future of Sam Darnold when he gets moved out, if the Jets do get Trevor Lawrence. And he mentioned the Niners as a potential next stop for Darnold. I actually like that a lot.
I just wonder how much damage has been done to Darnold, physically and mentally. That would be my worry for Trevor Lawrence, by the way.
Whoa.
He comes out of college, he goes to the Jets, and they put this ridiculously awful team on the field with him, and he gets his head handed to him. And you wonder how long it is before a player gets beaten to a pulp mentally and physically. I mean, Darnold came out of college with everything to love. Great arm, mobile. The only thing lacking was experience. And all his NFL experience to date has been horrific because of the team he's on the field with. So I don't know whether it's fair to downgrade Darnold for the future because of that, but I think it's got to be a consideration. The mental part is so big. I mean, you can't tell me that it isn't. Carson Wentz is simply not the same guy he was a few years ago. And I don't know. I can't weigh how much that is physical and how much of it is mental. But he's definitely not the same guy anymore. And I don't think he's ever going to be the same guy again. And I hope the same thing doesn't happen to Darnold.
I think one of you brought it up in terms of Shanahan. I mean, in the offense yes, mentally and physically, he's just been beaten down, but you put somebody in the right environment and build them back up. It's definitely going to be beneficial to him in that scheme. And what are they going to build around him? San Francisco is in a better spot to build around someone like that and provide the support that's what's already somewhat there. Let's not forget last year, there was a pretty good defense that gave the offense a lot of opportunities. So I think with the scheme and everything that's built there, it's just a matter of rebuilding his confidence, getting stronger, different climate, different area. So it's not going to hurt him. It's just a matter of how he rebounds in that system. It's obviously an offensive mind there that you're going to.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, he's gonna land somewhere that actually Well, he's going to be coveted and courted by some good organizations. So I think most of the NFL believes that Gase has made him look like shit. And to Dave's point, I mean, you can be shell shocked, but I think Pittsburgh. Someone was just asking about Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh will be interested. I think the Colts will be interested. San Fran for sure. I mean, this league is so. Actually, here's a question for you. With this quarterback draft class, if you could trade a 2 for Darnold, right? And maybe it's a back end of the second round. If you could trade a 2 for Darnold, would you do that, or would you take your quarterback of the future, with that 2 pick this year?
I would. Well,
like say Kyle Trask tumbles for some reason, right? It's a guy like that, and all of a sudden he's available at 54. Is that a better option at 54 for you, or is 4th year Sam Darnold a better option?
I think I'd rather take my chances with. I'll give you the guy. We'll see him tomorrow. I want to see how he does in this game. The Wilson kid from BYU. I really like him. I'm not saying that I like Lawrence better. I think Lawrence is the best guy. Trask is outstanding. The kid from Ohio State can play, although he had a bad game last week. There's this. The kid at Alabama is good. He's going to be a pro. But this Wilson kid, geez, boy, he's good.
I'll tell you who I'm interested to see come out of college, and I doubt he's going to play quarterback. But the graduate transfer from Houston to Miami, the De'Aaron King. Yeah, I want to see where
small,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to be a quarterback, but man, talk about an athlete. He's the reason that team's clicking. I just he's added life to that offense and made life easier for Manny Diaz. So I'm intrigued to see where that kid ends up. That was, I mean, he's not going to be a quarterback. But to answer your question, Steve, I would probably go for the quarterback of the future. I'd rather build around the quarterback of the future, especially depending on the team that we're talking, whoever we're talking about. Let me ask you a question for both of you guys. I'm just curious, because this talk has come up and back and forth. Does Trevor Lawrence make a demand when this is all said and done before the draft that he wants to bring Sweeney with him?
He wouldn't go.
That'll be.
He'll never leave.
I don't think anybody's going to pay him, right?
That'll be the reaction from the entire NFL. I think the NFL knows that Dabo Sweeney's a horse's ass, and that professional athletes, adults, would not buy his bullshit.
No, he's a college coach, and he's a great college coach. But he's where he belongs.
He's got the life.
He can stay at Stanford for the rest of his life.
Yeah, if he goes
at Stanford, at Clemson.
Yeah, David Shaw now is probably going to go to the NFL at some point. If Dabo Sweeney went to the NFL, he'd probably be a 3-year bust. He could always he'll do Urban Meyer, just go back to college. But I mean, the position that Dabo's right now, Dabo's in a position now where he's making $9 million a year, and when Saban walks away, watch what happens. The bidding war on Dabo between Clemson and Alabama. Oof. The guy literally could go back to Clemson and go, I want $20 million, or go fuck yourselves. And Alabama, they'll pony up to steal him.
He could basically say, I want the school named after me. I want it to change to Dabo University. And they might have to do it.
Dabo U.
Dabo U.
That's awesome. I love it. Let's see. Aaron's coming at you again. He says, GM Koken, if hired by the Jets, would trade Lawrence. Pick for Jimmy G. I don't know about that.
No, I didn't say that. Aaron's gone off the deep end since the blanket comment.
Yeah, he's a hoot tonight.
You're basically you're running like an 0 for 6 here, Aaron. No, Trevor Lawrence is there isn't any question about the number 1 overall pick. It's Trevor Lawrence.
I like Brady's joke about the Jets being inept in the draft. He says, when Jets take a lineman, how do you think Lawrence will do with the Jaguars? Listen, fact is, if he stays healthy, it looks like the Jets got the 2nd, 3rd, 4th best pick as of now in the first round. Mekhi Becton, according to Pro Football Focus, is about number 3 of the rookies in the first round. He's been good.
Yep.
So,
Wirfs
has been slightly better, but they're 2 of the top 6 rated guys who went in the first round.
This is actually turning into kind of a dream season for the Jets. Gase has been so bad.
I love it.
I mean, they're going to get the 0-16, so they're going to get Lawrence. He'll be out of there. I think they're going to have a lot of good candidates. for that head coaching job? Because it's still New York. I mean, New Jersey, but it's New York. And whoever wins there is going to be a god. I mean, I would put the Jets up there as almost a dream job getting Lawrence. And Lawrence is really, he's just so talented. He literally is the best college quarterback I've seen in a lot of years.
Can you imagine this? Schiano turns Rutgers around. Trevor Lawrence turns the Jets around. Cofield's going to be a monster.
I also need. I'm not a. Technically, I'm not a fan. My football existence would be bizarro if UNLV made a bowl game in 2 years. Because you realize the last couple of years covering the Jets. I'm sorry, rooting for the Jets, rooting for Rutgers, and covering UNLV. It's like. I mean, at the end of the year, you're looking at friggin' what are we talking about? 38 games. It's like a 7-31 record every year. It's like I'm used to watching some struggling football.
You might be one of the 2 or 3 reasons that I would pull for something like that. If you get to do some color commentary or sideline reporting again. Outside of that, I don't think that UNLV is making a bowl game. Maybe not in the next 2 years. I'm not saying he's not capable of coaching him, coaching him up if he's got the time, if they give him the time to do it. But 2 years, I don't know.
I think they'll be close. I think they'll be closer in 2 years. I think they've got some quarterbacks. I think he will rebuild the defense. They got a really big transfer today, a guy who was a freshman All-American at Arizona a couple of years ago. But the build is going to. Hey, you know what? He's got some offensive linemen he can build around too. So I think next year will still be rough, but I think that third year he can start approaching 5 or 6 wins.
So do I. And here's the example. When Brennan took over San Jose State, they might have been the worst program in the country. Well, they were in the bottom 5. It's 2 years later, and they're now one of the better programs. You can move up in the Mountain West in a hurry. I'm not saying you can get to Boise State level. But you can go from the ass end of the Mountain West to a middle of the pack Mountain West, and that's 6 wins in a bowl.
Willie, I think with Brennan, it was 2 wins, 1 win, 5 wins last year. UNLV screwed them over. If they beat UNLV, that's a pretty good size favorite. They win 6, and they probably go to a bowl game. And now in his 4th year, he's got a good team here. So and certainly UNLV. Listen, say what you want about Tony Sanchez. He didn't leave the cupboards that bare, and obviously the facility build out is gigantic for Arroyo.
You don't want to get me started on this subject, honestly, because I could take up the rest of the show. I'm not gonna.
Are you anti Arroyo?
I'm not. No, I am not. Let me just here's the deal. I am not anti Arroyo as a coach whatsoever in any shape or form. And Brady, by the way, no, I have not been blocked by him yet. But what I have a problem with Arroyo is this. I know for a fact that he reached out to some people here before he got here, and he researched and read past articles. He came to Las Vegas already not liking certain media members because of the articles, the way they were written. And they were basically straight news items or being critical of the way that the team was. And it wasn't critical of Tony Sanchez. It was just the team and its losing ways. Let me tell you something. You cannot come to Las Vegas already preconceived and say, I don't like Mike Grimala. Who doesn't like Mike Grimala? I mean, come on now. Everybody likes Mike Grimala. This guy doesn't even know him. He came to town bitching that the RJ had 3 beat writers before the season had even gotten started without knowing the newspaper business as to why they went from one to the next before the season started. It was a structural decision based on why. It wasn't because UNLV was secondhand and they were just passing it around who wants the beat. What I have a problem with is how he's handled things off the field with the media, how he's not been transparent. It took, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but it took myself, Tyler Bischoff, a couple of people to just kind of throw things out there and report things without him, for him to finally come on the Zoom and say, yes. He even said on the Zoom, yes, I think Willie said that yesterday about Randall Grimes. Yes. Steve, I messaged to you long before that, but left it alone. Didn't want to put the kid on blast till I confirmed it. Tyler put some stuff out there. Guys, he was following the rosters. You got to be up front. And if you're not, it puts you in a bad light when your team plays like shit and looks the way that it does. Now all of a sudden you're defensive, you're guarded, you won't speak to the media, you don't give one-on-ones. The players are off limits. You can't get one-on-ones with the players. How are you supposed? There's just a way to handle things, and it makes him look bad. As far as Tony Sanchez, the biggest problem I've had that Arroyo has said is that it takes a culture change. Tony Sanchez left that culture for a team that didn't go anywhere and that never got bowl eligible. He left it in good spirits. The players were fine. They were rebuilding. If you give him one more year and they weren't in a pandemic, so on, I mean, that he probably, I'm guessing, would have been very competitive. I just don't agree with how he's handled things off the field. Now, anti-coach Arroyo, I can't judge him. I'm not a coach. I can analyze games, look at stats all day, watch games, and break things down. But he's the coach. He knows the ins and outs of football. I can't say he's a bad coach or good coach, especially this year with what everybody's going through. It remains to be seen. So as far as Coach Arroyo, not anti. The way that he's handled things, come in, big head, thinks who he already doesn't like in the media, bullshit. Got to straighten up. You better understand who's reporting on things. You better understand who's, I think there's you got to go. It goes both ways. I can keep going, but that's where I stand.
Brady just said, "Go check again to see if you can block."
Oh, hey,
Dave, you got a reaction? Because I have an answer for you.
I mean, I'm not close enough to the program anymore. When I was doing daily radio with you, and I did the coaches show with Bobby Houck and stuff like that, I had more access. Let's put it that way. No, I'm just an observer like anybody else now. I'm not really in the media at all these days, so I can't comment on the coach's relationship with the media or whether he's constructed bridges or burned them down. I don't know anything about that. I'll take Willie's word for it because he is in the media, but I have no viable opinion on that.
So I'll answer it like this. I have your back on the media thing, and we want transparency. But big picture, Willie, what coaches do with us really doesn't mean a hill of beans in building the program, unless that's the way he is dealing with people in and around the program, right? Okay. So we're such a small part of the UNLV build. And he's going to build it from within a little bit in Vegas in terms of recruiting the athletes, but you can see the way he's recruiting. He's recruiting California. He's recruiting Texas.
Yep.
None of that stuff gets to those guys. So, like, as important as I want to believe we are, now I do think it is a mistake on his part if he has written off the media. I actually think for the UNLV media, and this is not a dig, I think most of us are pretty much pussycats. Like, we do our job, but we're not out to bust the horns of the program. It's a very friendly media market for UNLV in basketball and football. So I think he does need to understand that. So okay. I am fascinated by what you said, though. I never even thought of someone looking at how the media covered UNLV football, looking at past stories, and then making judgments. I as a coach, I don't even know why you would bother with that. Who cares?
Exactly. So my counter to that is where he shouldn't have to. He's got a job to do, and he shouldn't have to worry about us. Then, in the same regard, he shouldn't be blocking Tyler Bishop for his comments, and he shouldn't be worried about what the media is doing. He should be doing his job. Let the media do its job, and do your job as a coach. If you can't take criticism, you don't belong at UNLV. Not for the first few seasons of it. I mean, this guy can turn it around, and UNLV could be the next Coastal Carolina, mid-major that gets ranked. Who knows? But until then, you better toughen up, because I got news for you, my friend. When it comes to critical, yes, you're right. I mean, we're not big. This is still Las Vegas, okay? But this town is growing. It's a pro sports town now. And when it comes time to be critical or write, there's nothing positive to write right now. And nobody's calling for his job. But when you write about the team and how it's playing and so on and so forth, or when you're tweeting statistics and so on and so forth, then he better get some tough skin. That's all I'm saying. That's, and I get what you're saying. He shouldn't have to worry about us. Then don't. That's just it. Then don't pass judgment before you even move to Las Vegas based on past stories.
Yeah. And to Brady's point here, driving fans out. Well, right now he's free of that, right? That's not part of the responsibility. But I will tell you, that's the one thing. It is part of your responsibility when you're the coach at UNLV basketball and football.
Yep.
Part of it is trying to sell tickets. Because that is the biggest mistake most of the coaches make when they come here. They're like, that's not my fucking job. No, here it is. Here it is, because the money is needed big time from the gate. Now you're in the AL. You got to generate money out of that. And it sucks that that's part of the job, but it's always been part of the job with the men's basketball coach and the football coach.
If you remember, there was one time I was on your show, Steve, in the afternoon, and you asked me about, we were talking basketball, and you asked me about Julian Strother. And I told you that the very first, UNLV made one of his finalists, but one of the top reasons that he did not want to come here was because at the time it was on a decline, and the social media hate that the players were getting, the program were getting from the outside. Here's a 16, 17, 18-year-old impressionable kid. And, I'm close with the family. So they're telling me, they're like, if the team doesn't, if I go in or if Lee's telling me if Julian goes in and he plays his ass off, but UNLV sucks, and they're going to say, left another kid home, whatever. Preconceived notions of a 16, 17-year-old kid. When you're seeing hate on social media, it's very impressionable. So the fans have a lot to do with it. The coach, and they're going to attack the coach. So yes, your coach's attitude has a lot to do with, drawing in the fans. And it does make a difference. Now, again, he's recruiting heavy and he's getting good recruits, but don't think that the players and the recruits and the guys that are on the team aren't paying attention to that fan hate. And
but that's at every school.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that.
And fans are, I'm sorry, but fans are stupid. They are. The fans are stupid. Okay. And I think the perfect example, we talked about him last week, Chris Wood.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Wood caught loads of negative social media commentary, and the fans who did it are idiots, stupid, because they looked at him, like he's not trying, because the guy's he's a big kid with a long stride, and it kind of looked at times like he wasn't and Chris and Steve talked last week about the new contract Chris Wood just got in the NBA, which kind of tells you he's pretty good. Fans are idiots. Okay, I'm sorry.
They are. No, you're right.
Generalization, but it's not a bad generalization. If you follow any team, forget Twitter and Facebook. Just go to the fan sites.
Yes.
For the respective schools. Oh my God, it is unbelievable.
Well,
how idiotic so many of these fans are.
Yeah,
they have unrealistic expectations. They don't like guys for no reason in particular. They're just morons.
Yeah, especially, I was going to say beyond UNLV, Golden Knights fans, Jesus. But, and you're 100% right. Fans are out there, but 16, 17-year-old kids are impressionable, and they see that, and it has an effect on them. So, you're not going to be able to control it.
Is something, to me, that's incumbent upon high school coaches to be indoctrinating into their kids, particularly the kids who are going on to the next level, is that you're going to get a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
You have to learn to ignore it. I could teach them something about it, because I'm in a business where there's a lot of negativity.
A lot of it.
I caught a ration of shit because I played Nevada last week against Hawaii. I'd won 10 best bets in a row in college football. I lost one, and it's like, you're an idiot. You just got to let that stuff run off. You just can't get hung up on it. For me, it's easy because I'm 67 and I've been doing this for 40 years. But for high school kids moving on to college, that's something that, to me, has to be part of the regimen that's taught to them while they're still in high school, is that if you're moving on, you better get used to seeing negative stuff about yourself in public places. It's just going to be the way it is.
Yeah. And Dave's seen, you talk about that, the sports handicapping industry, Dave's seen it from the phone room days to the 900 number days to the internet days. They never change. They're the exact same for those decades you've been doing this, Dave.
Yeah. Anytime you win a game, you're lucky, and anytime you lose a game, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I accepted that a long time ago.
They forget
and I will tell you the trade-off's pretty good as far as the cash register goes. So,
they forget that Dave does this, or, if you're in this industry, you do it 362 days a year, the 3 days around the All-Star game in baseball. I mean, there's action every day, and 52 weeks. I mean, you're aiming to win 35 of them. You're not going to win all 52, but the gamblers don't understand that.
Well, the good ones do. No, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, the good ones realize that you lose a game, you just move on. I mean, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. I had a basketball game tonight that I lost. The other team went 17 for 26 shooting threes.
Yeah. It happens.
There's nothing you can do. It just happens.
You're a moron. You should have known that. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not sure how much time we got, but speaking of basketball, Dave, what do you think about Baylor Gonzaga? Because I watched Baylor twice in person
they're good.
last week at T-Mobile. I think Baylor's going to get them. I really do.
I'm not going to play the game. I took 3 plays tomorrow, and none of them are games that anybody gives a shit about except me.
Yeah. Those are usually the value ones. I just
but
watching Baylor.
Gonzaga.
Oh man, that team is so deep. And I know Gonzaga's, they can go 6, 7, 8, but the experience, the way that team, they had 3 minutes of bad basketball. It was the first game against Lafayette, and then they woke up, and it was their opener, and they're playing with their assistant because Drew was in COVID protocol, but. Man, you talk about a machine. Baylor is solid on the glass, defensively, in transition, from 3-point range. They got 4 guys that can shoot from long range. I mean, I think that I really liked what I saw out of that team. And granted, they had, they played 3 now, and they beat Illinois. But I just think that they're going to have Gonzaga's number tomorrow.
So money line. Because Gonzaga is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I would play it. I mean, I do. I think Baylor's. I would play the money line on that. I think they're going to win.
How did JTT look? The UNLV transfer for Baylor.
He looked great.
Right.
He looked. Yeah, he did. He looked great.
That's one of those guys. I'll let you answer here in a second. But that's another one of those guys when the Menzies team started breaking up and people were like, who cares?
Yeah.
JTT not that good. I'm like, he transferred to fucking Baylor. He transferred up. You have to be mad that he left. He's gonna, if they now Joel Tomway, that's a whole different story. I hear he bailed on Texas Tech, but like JTT is going to be one of these bruisers, these athletic power bruisers that programs need. You're going to miss him, and you can already tell Scott Drew and company love him.
Oh, he fit right in too with the. If they ran the driving kick and just power bombing, I mean, it was he was moving bodies in the paint, and he looked so comfortable, because he had to sit out the 1 year. So obviously he's been working with them. And like I said, the experience with this team, but the fluidity that he was moving with the guards, I mean, he fit right in. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. But like I said, I mean, you may not be eligible to play, but you're right there with it, and you're building into that chemistry. And he's had a year to just sort of soak it all in. So he looked good. He did. The guards are their strength, and the perimeter play and their shooting. They get hot, it's over. But what really does is they clean up the glass, and once they start dominating you, and they get out in transition, or they get the second chance opportunities. I mean, they dominated Washington. Had a chance to catch up with Dave Rice a little bit on the second day. So I was really impressed. I was impressed with the entire team. But JTT looked good.
He also, by the way, he got bigger.
He got stronger.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. What do you figure? He's 20 pounds heavier.
Yeah, but and muscle.
It's not fat. I mean,
no.
That guy's
he was chiseled. He was big. He had looked like he was doing some heavy compound movement lift. I mean, deadlifts. A lot of upper body work. No, definitely.
I guarantee he's 250 when the body fat percentage is not very high.
Yeah, he was, like I said, he was moving bodies. He wasn't getting boxed out too many times.
No.
And he wasn't getting bodied.
No.
He was moving guys around. So he looked great. And like I said, the entire team, just those first few minutes of the game, I think that was the lead to my story for AP too. Was that they had a couple of games canceled, and they looked and it showed for a moment, and then it was all over after that. They went on a run, and then they just carried it over to the next day, and they dominated Washington. And
Well, let me tell you, that's a good team they beat in Illinois.
in Illinois, yeah,
That's a really good team, and I mean
they were both undefeated. Illinois is ranked, right? They're in the top. They were
Oh yeah,
five,
yeah. People talking about Illinois as the team to beat in the Big Ten. We'll see about that. But I got to tell you, Baylor looked like it wasn't men versus boys, but there was definitely physical dominance on the Baylor side, and they're fast too. They got
And Drew's
greyhounds
back.
on that team. Yeah,
Drew rejoined the team in Indianapolis on the Tuesday before they played Illinois. He was scheduled to come back with the team, and I had asked one of the players after the second game, if how much he's been involved, and he says that they make sure that he's involved. He actually told his assistant Jerome Tang, he's like, if this is too much of a distraction for me to come on Zoom or to be involved with the post game or the pregame, they set up the Zoom in the locker room, everything. He said, I'll back off. I'll just lay low and you coach your team. And the players were like, no. Just because you're not here doesn't mean you're not here.
Wow.
Just because you're not here doesn't mean you're not with us. So, the kid said they had post-game prayers in the pre-game and post-game prayers, and they pull him up on the Zoom, and he was involved the entire way, so I thought that was kind of cool too. Just the fact that he's never lost his presence with his team.
All right, guys, that was awesome. Willie, great job. We got to have you on more often. Dave, awesome.
Appreciate it.
As always, we got an awesome, I keep saying awesome. We have a great, scintillating Saturday on the way for sports. So hopefully some of the advice these guys gave you leads to some money tomorrow. And have a good weekend, guys.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Later, guys.
We'll see you.